Welcome to the Tolb Talks Raw Talks podcast. Join me, your host, Jay Tolb, as I sit down with some amazing guests to have an unscripted conversation. Now, it may not always be politically correct, but it's definitely going to be raw. You ready? Let's get it. Welcome back to another episode of Tolb Talks Raw Talks. I'm here with some very, very important and special guests. A blast from the past. My brother Franklin, my brother Jermone. Some of you guys may know this, and some of you guys may learn this for the first time. We actually had our own YouTube channel 10 years ago called The Real Taboo. And so this is the Real Taboo reunion podcast episode. So let's just jump right into this, fellas. First and foremost, introduce yourselves to people who may know you, who may not know you. Go ahead, Mr. Ike Love.
Man. What were we thinking? Ike Love, man. What's up, y'all? My name's Franklin Ike. Most of y'all probably know me because me and Tolb got similar friends. Man, it's been a minute. We on our grown man status. What's up, y'all?
Yes, sir.
What's going on, Jay? You got some of y'all know me. Same thing. Got some similar friends and whatnot. But yeah, 10 years, y'all. 10 years.
10 years ago, we started the realtaboo.net. By the way,
I know. Hey, .com was taken.
Don't forget the .net.
.net.
Yeah,
okay.
.com was taken.
The .net Real Taboo. Man, who would have ever thought that we would have this energy in this project that when I go back and look at it, I'm like, yo, this is so crazy. We were so ahead of our time with this idea that, you know, if we would have just stuck with it, who knows where it would have been at this point in time.
Assassinated.
Yeah.
And that's a hard part, man. We didn't have any direction. Like if we had somebody that would say in some sort of industry, radio industry, something that could have guided us, give us some direction, we were legitimately ahead of our time. Talking about controversial topics. I mean, everything under the sun. I mean, we live in the most controversial era, like that I could remember in my 37 years on this earth. You know what I mean?
Yes,
just
sir.
imagine all the topics we could have been discussing.
Oh, man. 10 years worth of topics. I mean, if you really stop and think about it, I mean, well, we went through it 2 presidents. We went through a majority of one into another one. So,
matter of fact, that was one of our topics, I do believe. That was one of the ones with Obama where we're saying we have a black president, kind of.
Yeah, that was actually the title. That was actually
was I on that one?
So much we could have talked about in these last 10 years.
Oh, for real.
Between like politics, sports, social media stuff, because the boom of social media, Instagram, and all these different things.
Movies.
I mean, we could have been a legitimate podcast. I mean, you have this era where everybody and their mama is coming out with a podcast.
Yep.
Man, we could have been like one of the. I mean, what we were doing technically one of the first. I mean, it sounds stupid, it sounds corny because everybody's gonna be like, "Come on, we were one of the first," whatever. But we legitimately like had the whole idea posted on YouTube. People now monetizing it. Yep. And it's like, damn, if we would have just kept at it, who knows? Who knows?
We didn't care about no money. We didn't care about no money. We didn't paid. We didn't care about no censorships. We had songs that probably shouldn't have been on there, but hey, we didn't.
Right? Hey, we probably would have been sued by now.
Right? I know kids been looking at it like, wait a minute, let me go look them up real quick. Oh, on the intro for real?
Yeah. Drake would have been on that one. Like, what?
Oh yeah.
So crazy, man. But let's go back to that real quick and reflect on that, because I think for me, man, when we first came together, you know, when our forces combined, and we wanted to drop this project, it was one of those things where I feel like we had that instant kind of connection, that instant kind of groove, and everybody was on the same page. Where it's like, yeah, we want to talk that real. You know, we want to come speak from our position, speak from the heart. Yeah, we know it's not going to agree with the public stance or even our friends and family stance, but we want to speak something that was truth to us, to start and engage that conversation. And when you look at it, like we said, now within those 10 years, there's so many things we could have talked about, but at the same time, there's so many things we did talk about, right?
Yeah.
So for you guys,
I mean, I think one of the topics at the time was like, should you be allowed to breastfeed like openly in public?
Yeah,
like stuff like that.
And there's a whole movement.
And that was your topic, if I'm not mistaken. That was your actual topic. You came up with that. Because it happened. We was doing stuff like that we saw. And then once we saw it, it was kind of like, you know, well, you think that'd be a good topic? And it'll usually we would say something about it. We would have a full blown topic, and then I can hear Tolb be like, "Yeah, save it for the show. Save it for the show. We can make this a topic," and we would just jump into it.
Yeah, if you stop and think about it, it's like, I mean, hey, granted, it was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. We were talking greasy, all right? We said some things. Like, in this day and age, cancel culture would have been on us. But at the same time, it wasn't necessarily what we were saying. It was our delivery at the time. We were so blunt, brass. We were young. You know, I mean, but I still stand by a lot of the things I said. I don't change none of the things I said.
I still do.
I just would like to change how I said it. The message. That's all it is.
Yeah. It's not about what you said. It's how you probably delivered it.
Yeah,
and because we were younger, no kids, we weren't married during that time. Well, Jerome, you was engaged, but you know, we was still. Yeah, you was engaged at that time, I believe.
Yeah,
I was either engaged or I was either married. It was in that pocket. It was in that pocket.
It was in that range. You were getting that authentic young black voice, and
exactly.
And we were coming with it, like you said, very, very, very unapologetic. But I think that's why it worked, because we were doing this off of what was it, Facebook at the time, and then our website.
Yeah.
No, we had Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Those are the three that we had.
And we had a good engagement. People were engaged. People wanted to watch. My mama watched it. You know what I'm saying?
People came on the show. People wanted to be on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just regular people. We just picked, people that we knew, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we had some guest celebrities or nothing like that, but you know, we picked people that we knew that can debate and had some stuff to say, had a voice of their own. We had every genre, we had females, we have different ethnicities, we had all of that stuff. So
we went to Vegas on one of them. Remember, we did our own road trip.
Yeah, we did go to Vegas.
Yeah,
we went to Vegas.
My wife's sister was on one of them.
Yep.
And your cousin.
Yep. Anna was on there.
So.
And her friends, we had one of my friends had jumped on there.
Yeah,
Jeff jumped on there a couple of times, man. He actually had two, I think.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jordan.
Yeah.
Snack Pack was on there.
Video.
Snack Pack. Yeah, that's when we were talking about video games and stuff. Hey, matter of fact, before we keep going, we got to give a shout out to our two unsung heroes who are behind the scenes for a lot of it with the support. One is your wife. Trina. Shout out to Trina. And then the other one was our producer, Syra.
Syra,
shout out to Syra. You know what I'm saying? She helped out.
Big shout out to Sci-Fi. They were they helped out a lot, and that's I mean Syra was even care person at one point in time. We was out there in the middle of the park. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, but that park background was fire though, man.
Right?
Get out there in nature, man. So I want to ask you about some questions, really, because
let's go.
Now 10 years later.
You have to say, let's get it in, though, man. Let's
get it in. Hey, let's get it in. 10 years later, man, we've all had our different journeys. We're all married. We all have kids, multiple kids. Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about fatherhood, man. I want to talk to you guys about your fatherhood journey and just, some of the things that we talked about in the past with our old posts and how that relates to you as a father now with your kids, and what are some of the main lessons that you guys are trying to make sure you teach to your kids?
I'm gonna let Frank go first on this one.
Man, you gonna let me go
first. I'm gonna let you go first. I got a lot to say. No, go ahead.
Tolb been father the longest, but he the host, so he gonna let us go first. You know what? For me, man, I didn't realize how exhausting it would be. This is my anxiety, right? Just thinking about, hey, where are they? I don't hear them crying or whatever. I have a nanny. I got to leave them with a nanny or whatever and go to work. Man, I'm watching the cameras 24/7, make sure they're safe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's exhausting. You never get rest. When they wake up, you up. 6:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Damn, little mom, go to sleep.
Stay in the bed.
But you know what? I wouldn't trade it in for anything, man. I mean, they've helped me grow. They're part of why I'm on my grind right now, just trying to become an entrepreneur. Kind of keep working hard, never settling. You know what I mean? Because I want to leave them. It's not even for me, man, because I don't spend no money. That's my wife, man. I don't spend no money on me. No clothes, no shoes, no nothing. I don't care about none of that stuff. That's all material.
Yeah.
I'm trying to leave them a house paid off.
Exactly.
You know, a couple properties paid off, maybe a side business that they can transfer over to them, a trust fund, something that they could be successful than me and never have to worry. Because I think, you know, we always talk about the wealth gap in this country. Obviously, Black people, we gotta play catch up. You know what I mean? Right. And I think it's important to leave that stuff behind, man. So that's my biggest grind. They make me definitely want to be better or work harder. And especially be a better person and watch what I say a little bit more. So,
No, yeah, man, definitely. You know what I'm saying? Now, come on, Jamon. You said you're gonna let Frank go first.
I did, and I'm gonna echo a lot of the stuff that he said. Is basically you become a different person because now it's not just you. Now you have to look at you have, you know, and well, both Franklin in our cases, we both have a girl and a boy. So that makes you think about, okay, this girl and boy is about to go enter the world. So now all this stuff we've been talking about, you know, whether it been on Real Taboo or something else or just general conversation, now we got to be up front and center. Like, okay, so what are you guys going to do different that's going to make sure that those topics y'all was talking about don't happen? Yeah. So those are the things that you start thinking about. Especially with everything that's going on right now, it's very hard to think about how our parents used to try to tell or not tell us different things that is going on, and now we have to tell them because now we're in the multimedia era. Like they can't get on anything without seeing it. So now we have to explain it. So we're kind of got our hands forced. So now we're kind of in uncharted territory, talking to our kids. So for me, the fatherhood aspect is a big deal that now I have to, the energy I put towards kids that I mentored or whatnot, or coached or whatnot. Now I got to do that with my kids, but I don't leave a location like they're here all the time. So
it's
I constantly, I constantly have to keep doing that. So that's for me, that's what changed. But I've been in a parent mind, and that's, you know, you go back to the old shows. I kind of almost talk like I was a parent already. But and going to what Franklin says, I keep those same views because that was the views I came in with. That was where I was answering from. Now I got kids and nothing has changed. So,
you guys touched on two. You guys touched on two very important things. I think that is key, especially with this parenthood journey. And speaking for my own self, one is leaving that legacy that Franklin's talking about, so they can have something, right? Lead them better than what we were kind of raised up in. To no fault of our own of our parents, but just they didn't know. Right. And so now that we know better, we're trying to make sure we do it differently for our kids. And then as well as preparing them for that life. And like these are our little children to shape and mold and make sure they can go out and be great citizens and not have to deal with or know how to deal with these situations that's going on in our society. And so I think that's a great point for fatherhood from both of us, for all of you guys, because it's so needed in our community. And then Jay, you touched on something that I've been personally both of you guys touched on something I've been personally working on. But I want to talk about the mentorship stuff first. And I want to say for me, like working with students helped me be a better father.
Right.
Because it prepared me to see what these kids are going through at different stages. Working in middle school, that's like the hardest time in a lot of kids' lives. And it helped me realize, like, okay, what are these parents not doing well? What are they doing well? And kind of adapt and adjust. And then knowing myself and who I am and kind of adding that to my own, you know, my own fatherhood type principles and beliefs and morals. But then, you know, it's hard because, like you said, once we put them out here in this world, there are different things pulling at them, shaping them while we're trying to shape them. And there's sometimes where the social capital is way more important than what my parents are saying in the household. And so us got to be aware of that, of like really developing them at a younger age. So when they hit that middle school age, it's like, we good. You can come talk to me. We have communication and things in that nature.
And you had Tolb, just giving you credit, man. Your pops was like very instrumental. You know what I mean? Yeah. You always had. I always saw it. It was actually one of the things I kind of admired. You know what I'm saying? You were one of the few I was saying on school that had his pops in their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I you know what I'm saying? I used to look at it like, man, they have a close relationship. They said they're talking, chit chatting. You had an open communication with your dad, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean?
It wasn't open. It was like,
it wasn't.
What I say. But
it can't
but
be.
I had
It can't
that
be
figure.
100% open.
But I had that figure.
Shout out Papa Tolb. Shout out Papa
I had
Tolb.
that figure for sure. And you know, what's the cool thing about my pops was, and I kind of talk about some of my other stuff that I talked about, but the cool thing about my pops was he was one of those individuals who would do the same for everybody he came in contact with. All the
and that's where I was leading towards. He treated us like he would see us do something wrong. He's gonna put us in our place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He treated everybody around you like we were one of his kids. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
And it's you know, what's really, I think that helped me along the way too, right? Because you know, even though some of those times I'm like, yo, are you treating him way better than you treating me? Like, what's up? But at the same time, I was able to see, like, okay, how you communicate with different people with different personalities, right? And how to keep your same beliefs, because pops is gonna be pops.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But he knew,
and that's what's important, man. That's what's important. I mean, we just take because, like I said, I mean, Jay, me and Jay, like I said, I've known Jay for like 20-some years now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know we didn't have our fathers in our lives the whole time. You know what I mean? And so we have to learn as we go. And that's part about just the culture in general, right? Being Black people in America. We have to learn as we go. A lot of us don't have that father figure. And so sometimes I catch myself and I feel bad, man. I'm like, man, I need to do more with my kids. I can't just be tired and sit on the couch because I'm tired from work, whatever. But you know what I mean? And I feel bad, you know, it's a feeling like, man, I need to get up and do something, because I don't know what it's like to have that father to take you out and hey, let's go to the park. Let's go do this. Let's do that. I don't know. So I can only father the way I know how to, which is on the fly. So, so it's tough.
It is tough. Like for me, you know, I didn't come in contact with my father until I was about 13. We have a great relationship now. But I will tell you, I'll definitely tell you this. I've told him multiple times, multiple conversations that we've had, that he did teach me something. I was like, I want you to know that you did teach me something. Even though he's, you know, apologetic about, you know, what happened and this, that, and the other. But what he did teach me is that when you make a mistake, to own up to that mistake. And the fact that he came back to, he wanted to have a relationship with me. He wanted me to meet my brothers and my sister. That taught me that not to, because I didn't come in hating. That was the other thing too. I didn't come in hating him. Like, I guess he thought that was what was going to happen. And
that's the norm in our community. That's
the norm. It's like, it's your fault that you did it. And I didn't come at him like that. And even my stepmom said the same thing. It's just like, you aren't what we thought we were going to get. And the fact that you're like you are, is like, it's a blessing. But I told them, I said, the blessing here is my dad showed me that I can make this same mistake. And because I now have the blueprint of what not to do and how I need to work from here on out, that was the biggest thing that he ever showed me. And the other thing was to admit that he made a mistake. A lot of us, we're very prideful, especially in our culture. We're very prideful about a lot of stuff. We don't want to own up to a lot of things sometimes.
Absolutely.
And because we don't, it causes a domino effect later on down the line. So for me, I always am thankful for the fact that that's what he showed me, and the fact that we have the relationship we have now, and to show that I can't blame everything on him forever. You know what I'm saying? I can't keep saying reason why I suck in life is because my dad wasn't there. Well, your dad's really there for like, you know, 0 to 18, and then after that, that's the rest is you. So if you like 30, 40, you still blaming this dude. You know what I'm saying?
And you're hitting on something that's real key, and I think is and this goes to one of my little podcasts about healing and stuff. But I think you're hitting on something that's real key about our community, and it's just that conditioning. We are being conditioned so much to not ask for help, to not open up when we're going through things and we're hurting, when we're not feeling our best, when we're depressed, and it causes you to go down this lonely journey. And so things that I know I've been preaching for the last like 5 to maybe even since we were doing things 5 to 10 years is that village mentality, and bringing back that village mentality where, you know what, I can help And I want you to know you have an open space where we can talk. Let's talk, young brother. Let's talk, young sister. Let's talk. And let's just keep that dialogue moving because, we need people along the way. We need those little people along the way to kind of help us and guide us. Like Franklin was saying, even with our podcast, imagine we had somebody who was in the industry who was like, yo, y'all stick with this. Y'all got something here. 10 years later, same thing. It's the same thing in life. As we go through our experiences through life, we need somebody to kind of go back and talk to and just kind of help us navigate through some of these emotions. It's dope to know that as a community, I feel like we're going to help make it better, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's key at the end of the day. We get a bad rap. At first, I used to think it was our community. Then I started realizing it was conditioning because of what they show us on a regular basis. I used to, and this is going to sound weird, but I used to try my hardest not to be the stereotype.
Oh,
what I found,
me too.
But what I found out is I don't need to try to not be a stereotype. Just do what you're supposed to do, and you won't become a stereotype. Yeah. And for us, we always think that we're destined to be crap. You know what I'm saying? We're destined to be like horrible because that's what they tell us. So it's like anytime we do something against the grain, oh, well, see, here they go. This is where it starts, and then it goes this, that, and the other. Right. And that's not the scenario. It's the fact of like we're just like anybody else, any other culture, race, background, religion, or whatever. It's the fact that we just need to not be in our own heads, get off the pride thing, and just work forward, and everything else is gonna work itself out.
You know what I mean?
We got a lot of odds against us, man. A lot of them. One thing I do like about the climate that we're in, although I think sometimes some people too woke, right? They could go to sleep. Take a nap here and there. But I do like the fact that, man, people are aware now. It's about being self-aware. Like you said, we have the odds against us. So how are we going to do better?
Right.
And as long as you're aware about something and you're trying to move towards getting yourself better, I don't care how you get there. Just get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like the saying goes, it's like, don't say you're sorry, just do better.
Yeah.
And that's where we at right now.
There's this thing I say to my students all the time. I have to really apply it to myself, and it's fail forward. You know what I mean? So like, even if you fail, that's a part of life. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's a part of life. But fail forward. Learn from the mistake. Learn from the lesson, and then keep moving forward. And if you keep failing forward, eventually you'll be exactly either where you want to be or closer to it. So like, yeah, man, that stuff is real. Like that stuff is real. That progression in life and going through that.
You got to.
Frank, you said something earlier. I want to get back to it, but you said something earlier just about, trying to become an entrepreneur, leaving that legacy. And I think that is something also key in our community because a lot of times we don't see those figures come to our community. And if we have those figures in our community, once they go, some of them never come back to give some game. True. So like myself, I have the same thing, and I started doing it because I used to complain. I complained, but I was frustrated with our public education system and how we.
It's frustration. Yeah, it's never complaint. It's frustration.
It's frustration, and just how frustrated I was with the fact that financial literacy is not a thing taught in our communities, but in other communities, it's taught since an early age.
Right.
And so I was fighting this construct of let's incorporate it to the point where, you kept getting these no's or whatever. And I decided like, I'm going to go learn about this industry my damn self. So now I can do it myself and bring this information to my students or bring this information to my community, because you're right. There is so much stuff that we get caught up on because we're conditioned because what they show us, what's around in our environmental factors. Well, we just become consumers. And as consumers, you ain't got no assets. All you got is liabilities. So no wonder a lot of people don't have that generational wealth. No wonder people don't have things to pass down to their families because we got so caught up with getting the J's.
Yeah.
We're
renting in their world. We're just giving payments, but we don't own nothing.
And see, for me, it's so funny because I worked a lot of different jobs. Whether I started off at Walmart, went to Costco, I worked security guard, worked at Walmart distribution center, worked at security. I got into the elevator constructors. I used to build elevators, construct them, repair them. You know what I mean? And then I got to law enforcement, which I'm in right now. So each place I went to, though, I learned from a lot of the older people.
Yeah.
They would give me game like, hey, make sure you're putting if you can max out on your 401k or whatever, we call it deferred comp, but 401k, do it. Don't worry about, oh man, my check is going to be shorter, but max out now because when you retire, you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they would like, just give me game. They would say, hey, put your savings in a high yield interest rate. Boom. Okay. I don't know what that is. Let me go look it up. You know what I mean? But I actually listened to them and took that information. I didn't read I don't read books. You know what I'm saying? Straight up and down. It's bad. Hey, it's bad. Well, you saw me try to log on to Zoom, right? That was a travesty, right? It's bad, but I don't, you know what I mean? But I take information, then I go to a website. That's where I read. I start researching on my own. Something directly. Yeah, I have to have something I'm interested in and start reading up on it. So, for example, right now, I just learned like, man, a lot of these rich people that you see, they don't keep their money in savings accounts.
No, not at all.
They don't gain no interest from there. Like it's weak. So I started reading and they put in high dividend stocks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Things that just going to pay on 50. Like right now, I found AT&T, right? I took half of my savings out and put it in AT&T because they pay 52 cents a share. So instead of leaving it into a savings account where I'm going to make only maybe $200 at the end of the year on it.
Yep, 1%.
$800 a quarter. I'll make $800 a quarter, right? With the money I have in there right now, I'll make $800 a quarter. Yeah, it don't sound like much, but a quarter, 4 quarters at $3,200 at the end of the year, plus whatever gains they have on profits and things like that throughout the year.
Yeah.
So it was like, man, so that's how they do it. I always wondered. I hear them say put in high dividends. And I didn't know what that meant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when you start researching, like it makes sense. You know what I mean? So I start moving my money somewhere else. I just pick up game from anytime I hear it, I think about it, like cryptocurrency. Someone said, look into cryptocurrency. Boom. I started looking into it. Man, I messed up though. I will tell you a story. I bought Ripple when it was at like 22 cents. It boomed to like $4. I had 90,000 on me. And I thought it was going to keep going. I only paid $5,000 for it. Yeah. I thought it was going to keep going. So I was like, let me watch it. I forgot all about it, man. It came all the way back down, but whatever. But it was, I would have made that money.
Yeah.
Right. You live and you learn. I would have made that money if I would, but it was just taking that little bit of information and say, hey, let me look into this. You know what I mean? People are making money off of cryptocurrency space right now.
A lot.
They're becoming millionaires. You know what I mean? And we just don't have access or knowledge or people telling us that information. I mean, that's just point blank and simple. That's just it. We don't have nobody giving us that game. So when we do hear, we don't know that, man, this person is telling me a lot. Like in the music industry, own your own masters, own this, own that, own your rights. But we think, okay, I'm going to just sign this contract, man, sign my life away, man, because I'm going to become famous, I'll become a millionaire. That's why a lot of these people back in the day will end up broke. You know what I mean? But now they're starting to own their own masters. Like I said, people are waking up and starting to want to be more. And that's what's important for our community, just waking up and wanting to be more and do more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit a good point talking about ownership. And ownership is key because you even in our own communities, right? We grew up in Pomona. So even in Pomona, you don't see a lot of people who look like us who own things in Pomona, right? But there's a lot of people who own things in Pomona. You know, there's a lot of other ethnicities who own things in Pomona, who own little shop, mom and pop shops or whatever. And ownership is the key. And I really feel
we had Donahue's.
Yeah,
Donahue's.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you talk about who owned Donahue's.
Yeah.
I was like,
when I found out, I said,
chicken. Yeah. I was like, well, you know what I'm saying? But everybody, we supporting that business though.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we open up our own version of Donahue's, right?
Yeah.
And support that business just 100% like we support Donahue's. So it's about knowing where you're putting your money, man, and just supporting it.
I can speak from that because I work in marketing and whatnot, and I do know. And I actually had this conversation with a couple other people was, why is it hard to support Black businesses? I think that was actually one of our topics we was about to do. But
white business or black business?
Black business. It's not. Clearly we got that down pat. That's not a problem.
We are clearly working well with that machine. We are making that machine work well.
That machine is still working. That machine is still working. But I noticed that with the black businesses, and given the fact that when I do my freelancing and I do consulting and whatnot, I always tell them, I say, well, what's your target audience? First thing everybody wants to say, everybody. That is the wrong answer. It's the wrong answer because you never had an idea what you were going to do. All you knew is you had something and you were going to do it. See, the problem with a lot of black, now I'm saying all, I'm not saying all, I'm saying that there's a big chunk, and I'm saying the ones that are coming to me to try to start it.
Yeah.
I get the same thing all the time. Every time I sit down and have this meeting with them, even when they say, well, why we got to do consulting? Why don't we just tell me what? No, we have to sit down. We have to talk about this.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing that they always say is, oh, well, I'm going to shoot it to everybody. Okay, well, what's a city or a town or location that you want to deal with? Oh, well, just where I'm at. And I was just like, well, what's the age range? They don't know any of these questions because they were never taught this stuff. They were taught if you had something to go on the block, hustle it out, and do what you need to do. Whatever money you get is whatever money you get. And when you kind of get into it and you start realizing, no, there's other stuff that you need to do. We can't bootleg, especially us. We can't bootleg business, and we can't bootleg knowledge. You know what I'm saying? We need to get the full thing. Like Franklin hit up on it. It's like you got to go out there and you got to go find that information. Unfortunately, if you don't know that information exists, it's hard to look it up.
and that's key to that too. You have to be receptive to somebody wanting to, and open to somebody giving that feedback. Like the best thing about Franklin in that situation was he was open to receive that feedback from these older cats, right? Because there's a lot of times, I look back and there were some older cats who used to tell me certain things. I mean, not saying they were all great information, but they would tell me some stuff.
Right.
And I'll, sometimes you get stubborn, you get stuck in your ways. Like, I got this. Yeah. Instead of just listening.
It's that pride. That's what we're talking about.
Pride, exactly. Instead of just listening and being receptive to that information.
Pride.
And then having some discernment to figure out, okay, what do I do with this information? Is this something I keep and apply it to my life, or just something I just throw out? Right. But sometimes we, before they even talk, we just no.
Right.
We can get so much further. We can get so much further.
Hey, we like to feel like we made it on our own. We like that hustle. We like that it takes grit and grind. And I think that's why we have that foolish pride at times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of asking for help or asking, sometimes you need a handout. I mean, it is what it is.
We were taught that though. That's the thing. We were taught that from.
I know. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, I'm the same way too. Yeah. I mean, we taught a lot of things that we got to reprogram, man.
Absolutely. 110% agree. So yeah, man, there's another thing I want to get into. I know we kind of talked about it briefly. And I have a very strong stance on this.
I'm like, what stance is
here come Real Taboo. It's coming strong.
I have a very strong stance on this, and I'm pretty sure you guys are very similar with me. But what is your opinion and your feelings and beliefs on this cancel culture?
That's a loaded question, Tolb.
I know it is a loaded question. That's why.
All I say, man, a lot of times what I say, for me personally, like, thank God the internet and social media wasn't around.
Absolutely.
Right.
When we were in high school.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
I'll be in trouble. I
wouldn't be. We wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have made it. No way. It's difficult. So I would say, for me, this era lives in, like, I mean, they have a lot worse than us. We had it worse as far as like activity, violence, drugs, crime, not having knowledge, not having resources, not having the internet. Yeah, we have real problems. Real problems. But they have
real things.
Yeah, but social problems, like just society. I mean, they have it worse. But I completely, wholeheartedly disagree with cancel culture.
Yeah,
I feel like all you doing is reaffirming those people's beliefs when you cancel them. Instead of having that conversation and talk to them and debating with them or whatever, trying to change their mind if you can, obviously within reason, you're just going to cancel them. Oh, let's shut this person down, blah, blah, blah. Now this person ain't got a job, no place to live, their livelihood is on the line. What do you think that's going to do?
Good. You know what I'm saying?
That. It's not gonna make them believe you any more than they started. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. Or you got the fake people, right? You got Kevin Hart tweeted something years ago. Now he's backtracking At one point he took a stand, but then the people started getting at him,
the machine,
and then he started,
Mm-hmm.
and he started backtracking, which
Mm-hmm.
is fine. I get it, I understand, but at the same time, do you think he really feels differently now, or is he just doing it because he doesn't want to lose it all?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, we know.
what point did you prove?
It's a PR stunt. It's a PR move.
It's definitely a PR stunt, and it's so crazy that with the council culture, I mean, I'm pretty sure we hit up on some shows that kind of hit up because it wasn't a thing.
It wasn't called cancel
technically.
culture back then.
Yeah, it was
it
just
wasn't
called.
There was not a thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it probably
was
was
just
about
you mad.
Right,
you mad. Get over it.
Right, we just gonna get a whole band of people to just be mad at you. But I feel like cancel culture now is a thing, but I feel it's always been a thing. It's just the target was different. Now the target's everybody. And I feel like with cancel culture, it's basically those people that didn't have a hardship in their life, so they don't know what it's like for somebody not to agree with them. They don't know what it's like to lose something. They don't know what this world does to you.
Absolutely.
And whatnot. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you had to go back to the video, but I'm pretty sure we covered something about bullying.
Yeah, we did. Cyberbullying at the time.
We did the cyberbullying.
I was like, cyberbullying. I remember saying, shut off the internet. Just turn it off.
Now, I will say this. I will say this. And I'm not changing, quote unquote, my stance, but I did learn a little bit more about it shortly after that. And what the internet is with the cyberbullying is just imagine we've all, I mean, especially in Pomona, I know we've seen some jacked up stuff that's happened to people that we still remember. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
Now, what cyberbullying was, what it originally was, I think it's changed to something else, but what it originally was just imagine that moment being recorded and now it forever lives on the internet. So your most embarrassing moment live on the internet. And when I thought about it, I was just like, well, okay, whatever. But when I started seeing the culture of this, I was like, I'm glad we didn't live in this time, because what they were showing was people, how you would be like, all right, man, like we would get in a fight or something like that, and you find out that there was about to be a fight after school between such and such and such and such, and we would all rush out to go see it. Well, just imagine if some jacked up stuff happened during that fight, somebody recorded it, and then now they promoting this joint like around the school, and then it's going outside of that school. And now that person is like, I can't even escape this, even if I move schools, because guess what? It's going to get popular, and then people are going to start seeing it.
Yeah, and that's the key piece, I think, too, especially being in middle school, where, I dealt with a whole lot of cyberbullying right after that.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away.
Right.
And, where we were younger, if something happened to you at school, you go home. I'm in my safe space now. I'm at home.
Right. I ain't got to worry about it.
I go back to school, basically, really. Now, with the stuff they do now, and because the internet and that stuff is so ingrained into what their life is like and what their life evolves around, no matter where I go, no matter what I do, this is here. So even if I, like you said, start a new page, I try to go to another school, these people gonna find me.
They're gonna find you.
They're gonna keep coming.
Yep.
And so I still have my same stance on, we need to teach our students how to be more in tune with themselves and build more confidence and be more self-reflective. But I do understand how, like, that social pressure and that social.
But back then too, we used to be able to be like, catch these hands, right? You talking all that stuff. Yeah. Come catch these hands. And then you shut that down, right?
Yep.
Right.
Now you can't do that because schools are like quick to expel you, right? If you get in a fight,
both parties.
Things.
The person that
want
to beat you up, and the person's getting beat up. Like, I'm at school, like, just getting knocked in the head. I'm supposed to fight back.
and so it's not even. They don't even have a way to release it, right? They don't to express their anger or frustration. Just, all right, I'm gonna beat you up. Then we're gonna be friends the next day. We're gonna dap it up and keep on pushing. Because so I understand. But I think cancel culture and cyberbullying, right? Two different things, right?
Yeah, for
cyberbullying,
sure.
I definitely understand. That's why I said I get why I'm so glad I don't live in this era. I wasn't in high school. There was none of that social media stuff back when we were in high school. Man, it would have been all bad.
We was barely having cell phones.
It would have been bad.
Right, we just had that little sidekick. We were flipping that bad boy up.
You know what I mean?
What time is it?
But going back to that, the cancel culture piece of it too. Like I said, I feel very strongly about this, and I think it's bullshit.
It is.
I really think that it creates a hive mind kind of mentality in society where if I have a thought or I have a perspective that's outside of yours, instead of us having a dialogue and a conversation, you want to cancel me. That's like a kid throwing a tantrum. That's like when you're young.
No
and,
different.
You know, 100%. We want to play basketball. Well, it's my ball. I'm going home. Like, what do we learn from that? Like, there's no lessons to be learned from avoiding. And so having a conversation and having a dialogue is going to bring us more growth than just canceling this person or this thing or this topic. And I think for me, it really bothers me all the time when I see it because I'm just like,
it's just extremists.
Y'all some fickle-minded people.
I would say it like this. And I'll give you a good example, people. Right? I'll give you a good example why cancel culture should be like, look, sometimes people need to be canceled. Like, it depends what you do or say, right? Like, if you blow up the World Trade Center, you need to be canceled. Right?
You should have been famous on that.
You canceled.
There's no conversation about that, right? But I would say this one, I was working in the elevator trade, right? You know, construction industry, they got some people from all different walks of life and background. Some, you know, don't like black people. They're racist, period. I worked with some cats with swastikas on them. And I had a conversation with this one dude that it was rumored around a company I was working for that he didn't like black people. So I actually had to work with him one day. And we sat in the car and I asked him straight up, why don't you like black people? I'm not afraid of a conversation. I've always been able to have a conversation with anybody. And we started talking and rapping and chopping it up. We worked the whole day together, had a good time working together. At the end of the conversation, his mindset was, although he's not going to go marry a black woman or something the next day. But his mindset was a little bit, he was actually like, man, you not bad. You a cool dude. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Just having that conversation, show him like, hey, we're not all like what you see. And let's be real. The media plays a big part of everything, right?
Yes.
In shaping and forging and the brainwashing, right? He was like, because all they see is what they see on TV. Or if they're not growing up with black people, all he's going to see is what he sees on television. So at the end of the day, having that conversation with him was a good thing. Whether, I don't know if it changed it forever or whatever, I don't know. But
for the moment,
the point of the matter is, I was willing to have that conversation. And we were willing to talk about it. I didn't just say, nah, I ain't working with this cat. You guys moved me to somebody else, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not going to cancel him for what?
You didn't continue it. You didn't continue it.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, it's for me, because, you know, people talk about this as the same kind of situation with like people who support Trump supporters. And they talk about the same thing, like, oh, I can't have no Trump supporter people in my circle or people I know. I got a few. And I think it's because before I found out they were a Trump supporter, we already had a shared experience and we had this relationship. So now that I find out you're a Trump supporter, instead of me saying, oh, I'm not dealing with you, it's, hey man, like, let's talk why. What do you like about this? Like, let's talk.
People are in a hive mind. They're in the extremist mode. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, the left is this and oh, the right is that. It's like extreme is extreme. I don't care what side you play on. It's an extreme thought process.
And that's not how politics is supposed to be ran. You're supposed to be centered. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be, even if you're left or right, you're supposed to be a centered left, a centered right.
Exactly. Like, it's unhealthy in my opinion. You can't be, look, the older we got, I'm sure y'all the same way, right? Tolb, what, you 36, 37 now? 36, right? Because I know I was one up on you. Jay, you about what, 40?
Yeah, I'm 40. Yeah.
Or are you about to be 40?
No, I am 40. I'm 40.
Oh, you're 40 now. I'm 40.
No, I'm 40. 41, 42. I'm a strong 40, so, right in the middle.
Let's be real. The older we got, the more conservative you get, right? Like when you were younger, you were like, when you were younger, you were like, free everything. The government should be able to pay for this, pay for that, whatever, right? You have your views, right? You were completely gun-ho, far left, right? But then the older you got, the more taxes you make, the more money you start making, the more taxes they take it from you, whatever. Right. You start realizing certain things, right? Certain things ain't right. Balance is what is needed. We don't need to say, cancel all police officers, cancel bad police officers, right?
Right.
Like, we don't need to say like all, just like we don't want to say all black people are like this, right? It's like, nah, some black people are like this, right? And it's a small percentage. It's always a small percentage, right? But it's magnified.
But it's generalized.
So I mean, just like you said, you can't just be one way or the other, man. You got to have balance.
I already know why you're rubbing your hands together.
I already know. You looking like
Birdman. He got the Grammy rub. He got the Grammy rub.
Now we talking. Hey, this is a good segue, because, frankly, for you, right? I want to hear your perspective. I mean, you touched on it right now a little bit, but I want to hear your perspective because of the fact that, you know, we grew up in a city, where, just quite honestly, the mindset that they kind of brought us up on was fuck the police. And now that you are in law enforcement, right? I want to kind of touch on for you, how are you able to maintain who you are while being in your profession, and knowing the things that people think about your profession? And I'm sure just because you're a law enforcement, some of your relationships with people will change because they just instantly think like, oh yeah, you them.
100%. So I would say for me, it's just understanding. I lead with empathy first, right? I'm not gonna say what department I work for, but I'm on the gang unit, right? I mean, we grew up around neighborhood people, cats from the neighborhood, right?
Yep.
All throughout Pomona, whether they're Crips, Bloods, you know what I'm saying, essays, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, some cats we grew up from yay highs all the way till we were grown adults. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I was like, man, but they weren't bad people. In my eyes, they weren't bad people, right? Like, so that's part of it, right? So it's one of the things, leading with empathy first, and like understanding, like, man, it's generational. A lot of these things, right? I so happen to be first generation American. I don't have that history of racism rooted in my family because, you know, it's not a generational thing for me. So I'm able to look at things from the middle, right? And saying, hey, just imagine if your family, you know, had to endure what black people have endured since, you know, there were racist cops straight up and down, period. A lot of these gangs were formed to protect their neighborhoods against racist cops and white people going in there attacking them, period. That's just the history of it. We have to acknowledge that, you know what I mean? So when I talk to people, it's funny because even if I arrest them, they usually be like, man, you a cool dude. You know what I mean? They be like, man, like they straight up, they're like, because I don't look forward to arresting people. I don't like arresting people. I arrest people sometimes because I have to, right? There's certain crimes or whatever, crimes or laws or whatever, certain things I have to do. It's out of my hands. Sometimes, you know, but it's hard for me to just arrest people. I'm not in this to ruin people's lives. I'm here to help protect people and do all that stuff. You know what I mean? And so I will say there is a culture of law enforcement. Some people like arresting people. They don't care if it sends them spiraling downhill. You know what I mean? And that's not me. You know what I mean? I actually care. Like this one dude, I got a gun off this one dude the other day, right? Young kid. I was like, man, you know, so what I did when I was taking the juvie hall, I was talking to him and just telling him, hey, just because your dad is this way, you don't have to be this way. You know what I mean? It was his first time offense. I said, look, hit me up when you get out of there. And we could see, I want you to be on a straight path, whatever, you know what I mean? And that's the way you have to lead with it, man. You know, like I said, growing up is one of those things they teach you to hate the police or whatever. And it's like, it's always something I wanted to do, right? Be a police officer. I always thought police shows were cool. I watched every single police show on TV. Bad Boys, we did the Bad Boys skits, Jay, back in the day. You know what I mean? It was like, man, I want to be a police officer. You know what I mean? So, but when you get into that profession, people turn on you. People think something about you. They think you different now. It's like, what makes me different? And part of it is, and I would say part of it, I would say the age range of policing needs to change. 21 is young. You still growing and learning and still figuring out life. And then you become a police officer at 21 with the power to shoot somebody, arrest people, but you still maturing your damn self.
That part.
Too much power
I think 25. Right. I think 25, because I know I was reckless still at 21.
That's what I was going to say. Me at 21? Don't give me a badge and a gun. That's not good. That's not a good look.
Not a good look.
100%. So I didn't become a police officer, 27? I'm turning 28. I was just turning 28. By then, I worked a bunch of different jobs, been around a bunch of different people, got a lot of different experiences. And so I knew I was good with who I was as a person. Yeah. I didn't need to change. I didn't need to be a robot. I didn't need to do any of that stuff. This is me. You either accept me and give me the job or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I'm gonna find somewhere that will. So I think that's part of the problem too. A lot of young kids getting this badge and a gun. They've never been in the neighborhoods or whatever that they're policing. You know, that's a tough one too. But somebody got to do the job. If we're not willing to do the job ourselves, who else is going to do it, right?
I got a question for
that.
And
so we have to look into that.
I got a question for that because I think that's a key piece of what you're talking about right now is, you know, even for myself when I was growing up, you know, it's like the police, all that kind of stuff. But then you look back and like you just said, if we're all saying fuck the police,
right,
we're only allowing people who do not have any exposure to our community and to our people to come in and police us. And then 100%. On top of that, we don't know what their experiences are. And 9 times out of 10, they don't share the same culture. They don't come from a similar community. And so like you, where you can lead with empathy, they're leading from protection. Like I need to protect myself to make sure I get back home.
Right.
Right.
And
like
what they see, they're leading with what they see too, the stereotypes they see in the media.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean for sure, policing has to change. It needs to change. And I would say both sides have to listen to each other. Both sides got to do better. It's not just one side or whatever. There's a lot of good police officers out there, dude. I haven't worked with a bad cop yet. You know what I mean? Whatever the bad cop may sound, I haven't worked with one yet. You know what I mean? And I'll be the first one to be like, hey, that dude doing something he shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean?
Good.
I'll be the first snitch be out there. But it's one of those things that if you don't want them doing it, and it's not even just that, right? You're talking about $100K a year job, benefits, vacation, sick time, stability. We're telling our kids when we show them that, hey, F the police, don't do that. We're telling them we're basically walling them off of a whole industry that it could be a part of and change their life and get out of circumstances. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we got to watch out how we demonize law enforcement too, because your kids can get into that industry and do better and make it better. You know what I mean?
Right.
And at the same time making their life better. So it's a fine line, man. And like I said, I think that age thing has to change. 25 is a good age. I think you've lived some life. You've done a lot of things. You know, because like I said, it's one thing coming at you give a kid that never grew up around, you know, African Americans, Hispanics, can't talk the language, don't know what's going on. And I've got plenty of scenarios that has happened, right? That you see, like, all right, look, just chill. And then I walk in and I talk to him. And that's another thing too. You walk in, say, where a black dude's been pulled over, blah, blah, he's irate, he's mad, he's like 2 seconds for talking himself getting arrested. You come in, hey, what's up, man? What's going on? You start talking to him. And then he's happy to see you for one. He's like, hey, let me talk to you over here, man, because he knows you're going to understand where he's coming from. You let him vent. I think a lot of times, you know, they see us venting, they be like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
you
key.
know, they amped up. We loud by nature. I mean, we know that. We've had those football, you know, those video game nights where we were loud in an apartment complex. You know what I'm saying? We just loud and boisterous. We like to play. But I think it's like I said, it's a lot of it. I wouldn't say it's racism. That's the thing. I think we're putting it in the wrong context. It's culture. It's
cultural. Yeah,
we have different cultures, and that's okay. That's okay. Let's acknowledge that we do have different cultures, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Not every cop, that white cop you see, is racist because he did something. He just doesn't understand that culture. You know what I mean? Yeah. There is some racist cops. I'm sure there is. 100%. But I think it's a cultural understanding that we lack. You know what I mean? And my boy, I mean, I don't want to do no promos on your show, but Breaking Barriers United is my boy. He does a podcast, and I work with him, and he talks about he's like I said, he'll tell you how it is. When a cop mess up, he'll do a whole show about it, letting you know this is what the cop did. He messed up, boo. And then when a cop goes viral or whatever, but he did the right thing, he'll go on and say, hey, this is why he did that for us. This is what he did. And I think we need more of that transparency.
Yeah. And I think it's the same thing you were saying about the two extremes, right? Where for the most part in our communities, we go to the stream of just everything's bad, everyone's bad.
Right.
They ain't helping us. They ain't for us. But then there's the other side where it's like, well, this whole construct can't just be completely flawed. there are some flaws because of just the way the system was created, and we understand that, and that's why we need to infiltrate it and try and make it better. And it's the same thing I do with teaching. I think it's the same thing you're doing. Was like I call out teachers, right? I call them out like, yo, that's not how you're supposed to react to this student, or that's not going to help you make a better relationship with the student or get them to do their work.
Right.
And it's the same thing in your profession. Like, we need more people, I think, who are doing that work, who are sitting there with the people who could be problematic, or they just don't know and they're ignorant, and we need somebody to help them understand and talk from that sense of understanding.
And I will say that, man, there's a lot of them that don't understand, man. It's a lack of understanding. I listen to them, I hear them talk, I'm like, man, you sound dumb right now. And they know me. I'm one of the more vocal people. You know what I mean? I'm willing to have a conversation with anybody. I'm not gonna. If you ask me, I'm gonna have that conversation. Obviously, there's a fine line because you're not gonna change something in a day. But they definitely, it's a lack of understanding. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with our politicians, man. They playing us like puppets. And law enforcement is caught in the middle. You know what I mean? No matter what it is. So it's crazy. It's crazy times right now, but also it's a blessing. We have a time to inspire, maybe forge, and like I said, reform is needed. There is a lot of reform that's needed, but we don't need to go to the extreme, right? I would say, like, when I say extreme, I say like LA County DA or whatever. Man, he gonna mess around and just ruin LA County, period. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to release everybody. He want to drop all these stuff, whatever, right? That's their prerogative. I don't live in LA County, but I feel for people. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, when you stronghold police or whatever, for example, I'll give some stats. LAPD right now, their homicide rate in South LA is through the roof. Why? Because a lot of the defunding and a lot of the units have been disbanded because of the defunding, right? So they took away, like, a lot of the narcotics units, the gang units, the proactive enforcement, or just the crime suppression units, right? They took them away. Well, homicide is going through the roof right now. It's more than doubled last year. A lot of shootings, more than triple last year. So what communities is getting affected by that?
Yeah.
Right? It ain't Beverly Hills. It ain't where Mayor Garcetti lives at, right? Because he's quick to have the police come guard his house whenever people start protesting. I got tons of stories about him that I've heard from people, but it's the politicians, man. They playing with people's lives here, because only one community is going to get affected, man. We got to stop. We got to stop falling for the same trap, right?
Yeah.
Because black and brown people are getting hurt out there right now as we speak. You know what I mean? And these politicians are playing the strings like puppets. So
I agree with that 100%, man. That the politicians are that whole thing. For me, we can have a whole podcast about that. Maybe we should come back on and
maybe we should.
I got a question because you said politicians. Wasn't there a point in time where we just thought all politicians were dirty and all politicians were this, that, and the other? But then at the same time, going back to Franklin's point, that we keep relying on them to do things. Like, it's this weird cycle that you see when you stop and really pay attention. It's just like, man, it's just politicians. You know, they lie half the time. Yeah, that's right. And then when something doesn't go right, then they go back to politicians thinking that the politicians are going to do something.
It's going to fix it.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that is I feel like that's why a lot of the black and brown voters would check out. Right. That's part of the reason why they're like, I don't want to be a part of the system, because we know that these people are just professional liars. And if you know they're professional liars, you know they're manipulators, they're like, I'm not going to get manipulated into this system. And then, but what I feel, right, because over the last 5-6 years since Obama, I've gotten more into policies, right? I got more into policies and wanting to know policies. And wanted to know what the local policies look like, what the state policies look like, because I feel like we get so caught up in the presidential election
that we forget about locals.
That you forget about the local and state.
Deshaun is speaking facts right now.
That you forget about the local and the state, which impacts your life more than the presidential election. And so,
you know what? It's funny because since joining law enforcement, I've been forced in a sense because, like I said, we get caught up in the middle. I've been forced to be a little more politically aware. And, man, my mind gets so frustrated. It's like, man, why do we keep voting these same people into office?
Yeah.
They have not done anything for us. Like it's legitimately on paper. You know what I mean? And you know what? And Biden said it. He meant what he said. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Black people been Democrats for ever.
But and that's what I'm saying. We don't need to be Democrats or Republicans.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to be down the middle, independent, and be like, what have you done for me lately? And that's the thing. When you know you have a group vote, why do if I know I already got you on lock, right? It's like that abusive relationship that you're in, right? You know what I'm saying? You already know that girl's gonna be there or whatever. Don't matter what you do, you can cheat on her, you can do whatever. She gonna be there, right?
Right.
So why do I have to put a ring on it? Right?
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want to. I don't have to give you that diamond.
There's no standards.
There's no exactly. So and I think that's what that's the unfortunate. Yeah, that's the unfortunate trap that we fall into is voting for one party over and over where they know like, oh, I got that vote. I only have to work for it. Hillary, I know I got that. Obama, yeah, he had my vote. Yeah, he got 100%. But
I mean,
they don't have to work hard for us. They don't have to work hard.
But you gotta. It goes back to the education part of it. Like I can pretty much say all three of us in here within the last 2 voting processes have looked at policies more than you've ever looked at policies. I know me personally, like Trent and I sat down, pulled up a YouTube where the dude broke it down in simplistic terms, and we watched those videos for every single thing that we voted for. People do that before. It's just like, I don't worry about the president. Check. Kept it pushing, and we don't even know what these policies are for. Now, granted, they may or may not, do those particular policies. But if we're voting for somebody that ain't even talked about the policies, that means that's not even on their radar. We screwing ourselves from jump. Yeah. So, I feel like it is a cultural thing, and it is the fact that our parents and our grandparents, they didn't care about that stuff either. They really didn't. They just like, my grandparents, they didn't vote for obvious reasons, but yeah, they just didn't do that type of stuff. And now we're at an age where now it's just like, okay, look, we're going to sit down and we're going to figure this stuff out more along the lines of what we should be doing. I'm not going to call it it's a white thing, it's a black, the way we should be doing things. Right. And then we can actually work from there. So we are changing this, hopefully changing this mindset.
And what's crazy is, like, in this past election, right? And I watched closely about a lot of stuff, and the cancel culture people came out and was trying to cancel Ice Cube.
I was about to say that too.
Having a conversation.
Don't even know why.
Offering to have a conversation with both parties, but sitting down with Trump. And to me, that was the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Right. Because somebody has to win. At the end of the day, somebody has to win. And I want to make sure whoever wins, look, this is our agenda. Where you at with our agenda? I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Biden. One of y'all gonna hear us out, and this is our agenda. Like Franklin was saying, where we need to be more of an independent in terms of like, this is what our agenda is. What are you doing to help me with my agenda?
What have you done for me lately?
Yeah, and that's the people who want to get our vote. And I've been talking about this for a while. Just like they have to earn our votes. Stop giving our votes out.
Yeah, just freebies.
You have to earn my vote. Yeah. If I don't agree with the shit you're saying and your policies, and you don't give me words. Let me see your action plan.
Right.
And if I can't,
what are you about to do?
If I can't see us like an action plan, I don't need you. You just giving me filler. Right. You just giving me filler to make me feel good. And we've been in this feel good state for so damn long.
They play on our emotions, unfortunately.
I don't know what the fear is. To be honest, what is the fear of doing something against that? Like you said, why fear being independent? Because you're going to get the same result.
I would say here's where I saw an opportunity. I did see an opportunity, man. Even with Trump. We could have, because he wanted black votes so much. Trump was a narcissist, right? He wants to be liked by everybody. Man, we could have came up with him like, hey, you give us this, you give us A, B, C. Well, you could put whatever you wanted on that list, right? Mm-hmm. He probably would have given it to us. But instead, what did we do? We said, we're not going to work with you at all. Mm-hmm. We gonna get pissed off at Ice Cube for wanting to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, we could legitimately got a lot of things that we wanted. I think from him, because he's such an egotistical guy that we could have manipulated him. And
he wanted to say that he did it. That was his whole entire thing.
100%.
He wanted to make that little checkpoint. This is part of my title. I did
Look what I
this.
did.
And
I
you
did
know what?
this. I did
for the
this.
black
I did
people.
this. I did this.
What? You got to do the
The
arm.
blacks.
And you know what's crazy? What's funny that, and what when I think of is like if the Democrats feel like they got us sewn up, they got us on live, and Republicans felt like, hey, I got a chance to get black people vote, they'll start working harder for us. Because right now the Republicans don't work for us because they don't believe they can get us, right? Mm-hmm. They don't believe we will vote for them. Democrats, they ain't got to work for us because they know they're gonna get our vote. So who the hell working for us?
Nobody.
Nobody. That's what I said. What are we scared of?
Why do we keep giving them the vote? That's what I always question myself, like question people. Like it's like we're in that abusive relationship. You know what I mean?
But it feels like they force our hand too, because you got to look at the way things are broken down. Like, what do we know happens every election? There's going to be a Democrat, there's going to be a Republican. What do we know about half the time? Who knows about the other candidates? It's kind of like, for those that don't watch a sport and you don't even watch it, like basketball. If you don't watch basketball, you don't watch 82 games, you only come in at the playoffs. You don't even know all the teams that was playing in the first place. And that's the way we are. We don't even know these other players, because after they lose, they ended up working for whoever they think will win anyway. So it's kind of like we never really have a lot of options. There's always two options: red, blue, right. Crips, blood, the red pill, the blue pill. That's it. That's all we got. And I think that's definitely something that needs to change in our government, that we need multiple choices. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be down to two. Let's get four. Let's get a final four, like college. Let's do that.
But that's the thing, man. We right now, we're the second largest minority. We're the second largest group in this country, right? As far as black people, I think Hispanics are closing up. They might even be second right now. I'm not sure.
No, we're not second
right now. But I think Hispanics like a percentage behind us, and like they might even surpass us like real soon. So we need to start working. Right now we have a power to sway. Look at what happened in the last election. We have power to sway a lot of things.
Yeah.
But we need to utilize that power. Say, hey, if you're not going to do this for us, then we're voting for the next guy.
Right.
Yep. You know what I mean? And just stand our ground, man. It don't matter what the R or D, whatever is next to it. Just, hey, if you don't do this for us, we're going to vote for this guy.
Yeah, stick to the policy.
Yeah. Exactly. Stick to the policy.
What is your policy saying?
When you lead with emotions, it never go right with you. I mean, think about it. When you're a hothead, when you're younger, you saw it, Jay. I got kicked off the basketball team at one point because I was a hothead. You know what I mean? I couldn't control my emotions, my temper, and so that never got me anywhere. Just kicked off the team. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we got to start. We got to do better. You know what I mean?
We 13-14%, but we a strong 13-14% of the United States. And if we utilize that, we can change a lot of stuff.
And that's where the education piece come in. That's where like the real discussions come in. That's where it's like, let's sit down and figure out what these policies are.
Right. What's your policy?
What are you about? What are you about?
Show me the policy and the steps.
How do y'all feel about identity politics then?
Brother, listen to me. Listen to me carefully.
He's like, hey, abort the question. Abort.
That's our time today, folks.
Hey, next time on Tolb Talks.
When he said, hey, man, we already know where it's going.
This is, no, honestly, I want to respond to this question. And I am going to respond to this question, but this can be a whole podcast episode.
Right. That's a full conversation.
I do really want to touch this as a full conversation because I think it is so key in their manipulation.
I will admit, I voted for Obama because he was black.
Me too.
I straight up.
We all did. We all did.
And you know what? But he was smart. Like if Jesse Jackson ran, I'm gonna go vote for Jesse.
Right,
Jackson.
right. Jesse was gonna get the vote.
Jesse and
Nah, they wasn't getting.
Sharpton gets up there trying to win. I'm not voting for Sharpton. Bye.
Right.
But Obama was articulate. He seemed like he cared. The whole nine. And you know what? In my lifetime right now, as far as being a person, as far as moving the way I want my president to move, he did that. You know what I mean? policies. There were some things. Okay,
Yeah.
there's some
Was a hit or
rhetoric
miss.
that he
Was a
had.
hit or miss.
There's some rhetoric that he had that I wasn't a fan of. You know what I mean? Especially when, like, you know, man, we could have a whole long conversation about BLM and stuff like that. But some rhetoric that he made, I believe, led to some stuff that happened. But you know, for the most part, he was a man that cared, a man that wanted to do good. He wanted to do good for everybody, in my opinion. You know, I wasn't a fan of all his policies, but he was a good president. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm not going to vote for somebody now moving forward, right? Or just because they're Democrat or Republican, or just nah. Look, I'm a free agent. I'm gonna vote for whose policies I like. People don't want to admit it, and you actually like pull people aside or whatever and be like, hey, so what do you think about Trump policies? They agree with a lot of them.
Yeah.
They don't like his rhetoric. I hate his rhetoric.
Right.
100%. It's like shut up and go somewhere. Twitter, everything. You know what I mean?
They don't like the
policy wise,
but they can't separate.
Right. Policy wise, he did a lot of things that I was like, okay. And a lot of people agree with it. They just don't want to agree within a person, which is fine. You know what I mean? But I can't stand that man.
I think this is a really good starting point, man, of bringing you two back on, us getting back together, three of us, and just talking about life now as adults, parents, and all the above. And it was fun. Just because the nature of us and our conversation we've had before, the familiarity with each other, but just in tune with, you know, who we are now as adults. So,
right.
So,
we learned a lot.
Yeah. Experiences and different things have changed and shaped us. We're still the same people. He's got more experience, right? Well, brothers, man, I do appreciate you two hopping on today for this episode. As always, man, it's been a pleasure catching up with you fellas. I definitely want to get this back going on, get this on again, and do some deep diving on these discussions. And, you know, when things get a little better with this virus, and I can come outside, I want to get together.
Pull out the three stools. We won't pull out the three stools.
Three stools. Let's go back to the park. Let's go back to the park.
Dust off them stools.
Dust it off.
Get out there too. That's a sad thing.
Let's have a conversation in person, man. But yeah, I do appreciate you two brothers. It's been great.
Appreciate you.
All right, man.
Yeah, man. Until next time, this has been an episode of Tolb Talks, Raw Talks. Thank you. Check us out next time.
All right.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Tolb Talks, Raw Talks. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at TOLB_TALKS. And subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Until next time, let's get it.